Regular 87. This is the most common grade of petrol sold at fuel stations around the world, and the vast majority of everyday cars are built to run on it. The number 87 refers to its octane rating, which is a measure of how well the fuel resists something called knock. Knock happens when the air-fuel mixture inside the engine ignites too early, before the spark plug fires. In a low-compression engine, 87 octane is more than enough to prevent that from happening. It costs the least, it works for most passenger vehicles, and there is nothing inferior about using it in a car designed for it. The idea that putting higher-grade fuel in any car automatically makes it better is one of the most persistent myths in motoring. Mid-grade 89. Positioned between regular and premium, this grade was once more common than it is today. It carries an octane rating of 89, making it slightly more resistant to knock than regular fuel. For a period, some manufacturers recommended it for certain engine types, particularly older vehicles with moderate compression ratios. Over time, however, engine technology moved in two directions toward either low-compression engines perfectly happy with 87 or high-performance engines that truly needed premium. Mid-grade found itself squeezed out. Many fuel stations still carry it, but fewer drivers have a genuine reason to choose it. It tends to be the grade that people buy when they feel uncertain, which is perhaps the most honest summary of its place in the market. Premium 91. When a car manufacturer says their vehicle requires premium fuel, this is typically the grade they mean. At 91 octane, it resists pre-ignition more effectively, which matters in engines built with higher compression ratios or forced induction systems like turbochargers and superchargers. These engines squeeze the air-fuel mixture more tightly, which raises the risk of knock if the fuel is not stable enough to handle it. Using 87 inches, an engine that requires 91 does not always cause immediate damage. Modern engines have knock sensors that detect early ignition and adjust timing automatically, but performance and fuel efficiency can drop noticeably over time. The engine is essentially working around the fuel rather than with it. Premium 93. In some regions, the highest grade at a standard fuel station reaches 93 octane rather than 91. The difference comes down to how different countries blend and certify their fuels. In the United States, for example, octane ratings are measured using an average of 2 testing methods, which tends to produce slightly lower numbers compared to the RON system used in Europe and many other parts of the world. A fuel sold as 95 RON in Europe is roughly equivalent to 91 AKI in the United States. So, a European driver seeing 95 on a pump and an American driver seeing 91 may well be putting nearly identical fuel into their tanks. The 93 grade in American market sits at the top of what most public fuel stations offer, and it suits high-performance vehicles that specify the highest available grade, E10. This is a blend of standard petrol and 10% ethanol, a type of alcohol derived largely from plant materials such as corn or sugarcane. Many countries have made E10 the default grade at their pumps, partly because it reduces dependence on crude oil and partly because ethanol burns more cleanly in some respects. Ethanol also carries a naturally high octane rating, which is why blending it with petrol can actually raise the overall octane number slightly. The trade-off is that ethanol contains less energy per liter than pure petrol, which can result in marginally lower fuel economy. Most modern vehicles handle E10 without any issues. Older vehicles, particularly those made before the early 2000s, sometimes have rubber seals and fuel system components that are not fully compatible with ethanol and may degrade over time. E85. As the name suggests, this blend contains up to 85% ethanol and only around 15% petrol. It is not something you can simply pump into any car. Vehicles designed to run on E85, often called flex fuel vehicles, have specially treated fuel lines, modified fuel injectors, and engine management systems calibrated to handle the very different properties of high ethanol fuel. Because ethanol has a much higher octane rating than petrol, often around 100 to 105 engines can be tuned to take real advantage of it, producing more power than they would on standard fuel. The trade-off in fuel economy is significant though. Because ethanol contains roughly a third less energy per liter than petrol, a car running on E85 will typically make more frequent stops at the pump. In motorsport and performance tuning circles, E85 has become popular precisely because of its knock resistance and the power gains it can unlock. Aviation Gasoline. Known widely as avgas, this fuel is specifically engineered for piston engine aircraft and has very little in common with the petrol sold for road vehicles. The most common type, Avgas 100 LL, has an octane rating of 100 and contains a small amount of lead. The LL stands for low lead because lead helps protect the valve seats in older aircraft engines and contributes to the fuel's stability at altitude. Road petrol had lead removed progressively through the 1970s, 80s, and 90s because of environmental and health concerns. But the aviation industry has moved more slowly due to the specific demands of aircraft engines and the lack of a universally approved lead-free replacement. Avgas is dyed a distinctive blue color to prevent it from being confused with other fuels at an airfield. It is more tightly regulated and far more expensive than anything sold at a road fuel station. Racing fuel. This covers a range of specially formulated fuels used in motorsport, and the specifics vary widely depending on the category of racing. In many professional series, fuel blends are heavily controlled and must conform to specific chemical compositions approved by the governing body. Some racing fuels have octane ratings exceeding 110, sometimes reaching as high as 118 or more. These extreme octane levels allow engines to run very high compression ratios and aggressive ignition timing, extracting every possible unit of power from each combustion cycle. The fuels are often blended with specific compounds to optimize burn rates, improve energy density, or manage heat. Some series have moved towards synthetic or bio-derived racing fuels in recent years as part of broader sustainability goals. Racing fuel is not available at public stations and would offer no benefit in a standard road car. The engine simply is not built to take advantage of what makes it special.